This is the setup that you want if you plan to use both the BowHouse RC Steering rack and the Knight Customs IFS mod. Welcome back to the upgrade series on the Element Knightrunner. If you're new to my channel, a big welcome. Here you'll find RC reviews, upgrades and mods, and run videos related to RCs. So if you want to see more, make sure to like and subscribe. In my previous upgrade video, I tackled one of the biggest performance drawback of IFS, the low front end clearance, especially if you plan to stick with the Class 0 tires, less than 4 inches tall. If you have not yet seen the video, please make sure to go check it out. On my first IFS system on Element Trailrunner, I noticed over time the plastic IFS components started to develop quite a bit of play. So today, I'm going to continue to focus on improving the performance of Element's IFS system by switching to several CNC-machined aluminum upgraded parts from BowHouse RC. Let's take a look. Here's what we'll be upgrading today. N2R steering rack for Element Enduro IFS version 2. It will help fix the wonky steering geometry with major bump steer by relocating and shortening the tie rods for proper geometry. Version 2 now includes the bump stops to prevent knuckles from binding into an oversteer position at full lock. N2R aluminum steering bell cranks for Element Enduro IFS. Being made out of aluminum, it provides added strength, and when combined with the N2R steering rack, it will virtually eliminate play in the steering. Aluminum servo mounting plate for Element IFS. This is one of the latest products from BowHouse, and one that I've been very patiently waiting for. The stock plastic servo mount can handle the powers of the high-performance GT servo from Three Brothers. The CNC mounting plate is significantly stiffer than the stock plastic piece, and it will allow me to maximize the performance of the upgraded servo. Lastly, I'll swap out the battery tray to N2R low CG battery tray for Element Enduro, which moves the battery down and forward by 5mm, lowering the center of gravity and increase the forward weight bias. The battery tray works with just about any size pack, big or small, and even has slots under the tray to better manage the servo and the accessory wires. The installation direction is in BowHouse RC website under each part, so I won't go into the exact level of details and instructions. At a high level, to get started, you remove the front skid plate by removing 4 screws using 2mm hex wrench. In my case, I need to remove the front bumper and remove the 2 screws. Now that we have the front skid plate removed, these are the parts that we'll be changing. Watch this. With the upgrades, they should be a lot tighter. I'm going to loosen the bolts holding the bell cranks and at the knuckle side so I can take the entire assembly out. Here's the stock whole assembly out. The steering rack from BowHouse RC is noticeably wider than the stock factory rack. Therefore, you will need to modify the stock link using the parts included. Normally, you will need to flip the ball end screw that goes to a steering arm, but I had that done already when I did the Knight Customs IFS modification. So using the hardware that is included, you want to end up with this. Here's the new steering rack and the bell cranks all assembled. Before I install the new steering rack and the bell cranks, I'm going to swap out the new aluminum servo mount. It's pretty straightforward as it's direct replacement, and you won't reuse all of the stock mounting hardware, except that you'll use the included M3 by 12mm flathead screws to attach the shock towers to the chassis instead of the stock M3 by 14mm screws. Since I have to spread the chassis to swap the servo mount, I'm also going to swap out the battery tray at this time. You loosen the 4 screws holding the battery tray. Then loosen the 2 screws on each side of the chassis. Spread the chassis to get the stock battery mount, then put in the new LCG battery tray in. Here's the new steering rack, bell cranks, as well as the aluminum servo mount and the LCG battery tray fully installed. I want to point out that with Knight Customs IFS modification, I had to improvise the steering arm in order to ensure that the steering arm is parallel to both the upper and lower arms. I used a 30mm screw and added 2 6mm spacers for a total of 12mm spacers. This is the setup that you want if you plan to use both the BowHouse RC Steering rack and the Knight Customs IFS mod. Hope you found the information helpful. Please like and subscribe, and make sure to hit the notification bell to be notified of future videos. Thanks for watching Vics on Hobbies.